Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I am Scott Spatz, president of Coopsys, and thanks for joining. Looking forward to having this webinar with everyone. Title for today's webinar is, as you all saw in the invite, is Look Deeper, Build Stronger, and How to Evaluate Your MSP, even if you like yours. So to get started, I'll say this up front, just so that we're all on the same page. This is not a why you should switch your IT provider's webinar. You might like your provider, you might trust them, things even appear to be working fine, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything underneath is as strong as it should be. So today is really kind of about one thing, understanding what should be happening behind the scenes and whether it actually is. So before we get started, just want to ask everyone to use the Q&A panel if you have any questions throughout the webinar. Down at the bottom of your screen, you have the Q&A button to submit questions. We'll reserve some time at the end of the webinar to answer any questions that anybody has. So with that, let's get started. So what usually happens, most companies don't fire their IT provider. They just typically outgrow them and kind of don't realize it. Most businesses don't wake up one day and say, hey, our IT provider isn't working. What actually usually happens is slower than that. The business grows, technology gets more complex, risk increases in multiple areas of business, new tools get layered in, either with or without your IT provider. But the level of support doesn't evolve at the same pace. And because nothing is obviously broken, no one stops to question it. And that's what we mean when we say look deeper. Everything seems fine, no major outages, tickets get resolved. You like your IT person and the company and the people that you're working with day to day. And this is where most organizations sit. No major issues, tickets are typically getting handled, and you have a good relationship with your IT contact. Those are all good things. But here's the problem, is those are all surface level indicators. So what should be happening behind the scenes? What risks exist? What's being missed? Or what's quietly drifting over time? And comfort can typically hide a lot. And a lot of times good IT should feel boring to you, not because nothing is happening, but because someone else is handling all the complexity behind the scenes. And the real question is what's happening that you don't see? And because that's where the value is, and the risk also lives there as well. So a mature MSP is continuously monitoring, they're testing, they're reviewing, they're planning, and they're documenting. A lot of times all, alongside and with you. A mature IT environment isn't reactive. It's constantly being worked on behind the scenes. So that includes all of these things that are on the screen. So monitoring not just the alerts, but identifying patterns, anomalies, what's the norm, what's not the norm, what sticks out, what are some alerts that came in that we should respond to, dismissing the ones that are just noise, testing your backups. So doing actual restores of your data to confirm that if there were an incident or a disaster, that your IT provider can get you back up and running in a reasonable amount of time. Reviewing security logs. So not just collecting those logs, but really reviewing them and analyzing them and communicating the outcome of that with you. Vendor coordination, managing the tools that you rely on. All of the different tools, whether they're provided by your IT company or not. Managing that life cycle and all those tools and systems. And then life cycle planning. So keeping things in a reasonable life cycle and replacing them before they fail and before they cause downtime. And again, working alongside with you from a road mapping and planning perspective to make sure that that life cycle of your equipment is getting attended to and fits into your budget and fits into your strategic plans, all of that. And then documentation, keeping everything current on the IT company's side and for you on your side. Documentation is not just a one-sided thing when it comes to your IT provider. It's on both sides. So if these things are not happening consistently, and you're not aware of them happening, you're probably relying on luck more than you think, unfortunately. So here we get into the 20% problem. And if you only see tickets, you're only seeing 20% of your IT. The other 80% is doing a lot of those things that we just spoke about. So preventing issues, reducing risk, planning ahead, always looking forward, always having a roadmap, communicating regularly with you and alongside you. Most clients interact with IT through tickets and through troubleshooting and phone calls. Something breaks, something needs to be set up, something isn't working. But that's only the 20% of what good IT actually is. The other 80% is preventing issues, reducing that risk, and again, always planning. And if you're not seeing that, it's worth asking if it's even happening behind the scenes or if it's happening with your IT company, and maybe they're just not communicating that with you. Some reports that actually matter. Here, the key thing is is number one, is your IT company even providing you reports? And then number two, are they helping you or just informing you? They shouldn't just be providing you reports for the sake of providing reports. The reports should include risk trends, security posture, backup validation, again, the testing and the ensuring that you can actually restore to those backups if you need to, and then strategic recommendations. How regularly are those strategic discussions happening and those planning sessions happening? Most companies receive reports from their IT provider, but the question is, do you actually use them, or do they just exist? Do they just get filed in your email or in your team's share or wherever? Good reporting should show the risk, highlight the trends that may exist, explain what needs attention, and then help you make decisions. It's not just about, this many tickets closed or this many patches applied. That's activity. That's not insight. So if your reports don't help you answer whether you're in good shape, whether you're in a good position, are we exposed? What should we be doing next? What should we be thinking about? What's going on in the cybersecurity world? If you're not getting advisement and recommendations and a consultative level and strategic discussion, then they're not doing their job. And most business leaders don't realize that. They just assume that that's what good reporting looks like, and they assume that that's what they should be getting. All right, so support versus strategy. Support is important. You need things fixed quickly, but support alone is not enough before and certainly not anymore. Strategy is planning ahead, aligning with your business goals, not the IT company's goals, your business goals, and reducing risk, whether short-term, long-term, risk that could be introduced by way of your strategic plans and what goals and objectives you have as an organization. And if your IT relationship is mostly reactive, then you're missing that strategic layer entirely. So you got to be honest with yourself. Do we have a roadmap? Do we have regular planning and strategy sessions and conversations? And is our IT tied to our business goals? And when was your last real IT conversation from a strategic perspective? Not a ticket, not a contract renewal, not a subscription renewal, not a piece of equipment replacement, a conversation about where your business is going and how technology is going to support that and play a critical role in you achieving those goals and objectives. That's not happening. You're likely operating without a clear plan. So a new context, and this is where things start to change. So right now, employees are using AI tools. Vendors are enabling AI features. Data is getting exposed, and automation is being layered in. Everything we've talked about so far has been evolving for years, but AI and automation are now accelerating that. And this is where a lot of environments start to fall behind pretty quickly. And this is already happening, whether it's being discussed or not. Your people, your team are already using AI tools like ChatGPT and others. Microsoft has enabled Copilot within your Microsoft environment. Other applications you're using are adding AI features automatically. And in many cases, this is happening without any oversight. And that's where the risk comes in. And that's why this conversation is so important at this stage of, the environment that we all operate our businesses in. The risks are getting accelerated significantly more and quicker than ever before. So basically ask yourself, is your MSP even talking to you about AI? Are they talking to you about AI usage within your business, whether you're using it or not, what their recommendations, their perspective may be? Are they talking to you about data exposure, where your data lives, what data could be getting inputted into AI? Are they talking to you about governance, how you control all that? What's the framework? What are the guardrails that you can establish and put in place to prepare your business for responsible use of AI and to not create additional risk, introduce additional risk into your environment just because your staff are using AI without your knowledge? Or maybe they are using it with your knowledge, but you have yet to provide that governance framework and those guardrails and those expectations around what they should and shouldn't be doing. You should be the one bringing this up. Your IT provider should be asking you proactively, what tools are your employees using? Where is your data going that you know of? What controls are in place and what policies exist? If those conversations aren't happening, you're already behind and you need to catch up. Automation reality helps with identifying and cleaning up processes, identifying clear ownership of those processes, and having defined workflows. Automation sounds great, and it is, but if you automate something that's broken or not clear or not fully documented, all you're doing is just scaling the problem further. So the good automation requires these things: the clean processes, clear ownership, and defined workflows. Otherwise, it just creates more confusion than efficiency. And this is really important to have conversations with your IT provider about this so that you can take advantage of and harness the power of AI and automation within your organization. So your IT provider can't be expected to clean up your processes and identify who owns them and help you with your workflows. But what they can do is identify and help you and talk through and help you work through where those deficiencies may lie and come up with a strategy for improving it so that they can work with you to integrate automations and integrate the value of AI into your business for efficiency gains and cost reductions and improved service response times to your clients, improved product delivery times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the question is are you really in control of your overall IT environment? Um, AI should not be in your business without you knowing it, although I'm sure it probably already is in most of your businesses. Um, Basically, this isn't AI specific, but these are questions, again, that get accelerated when AI gets introduced, or the impact of these questions is accelerated by AI getting introduced into your environment. So, do you know when your last recovery test was? Do you know who reviews your logs? Do you know what AI tools are active in your organization? And do you know what happens in an outage? This is one of the biggest shifts happening right now. AI is being introduced quietly or unbeknownst to the entire organization. And a lot of businesses only realize it after the fact. And this is not where you want to be. Do you actually know the answer to these questions? And if the answer is, I don't think so, or someone probably does, or I'm not fully clear on the answers to these questions, that's where the gaps are in your IT strategy. And the reality is you're not alone. I mean, we've talked to so many clients and business owners that a lot of you are in the same situation. Having the answers to these questions and having the policies and guardrails and protocols in place has always been important. But now with the introduction of AI and the accelerated pace of information sprawl and data sprawl, the answers to these questions are so critical to every business, which is why we're spending some time talking about it. So what strong looks like. So strong environments have visibility, they have accountability, they have planning, they have governance, and then they have continuous improvement. So when things are strong, you should know where you stand. You know what's being done. You know what's coming next. And nothing is happening without your awareness. And that's really the difference. Having good processes and attention being paid to these 5 areas are critically important to ensuring that you have a good strategic plan for your IT strategy. So looking deeper and understanding, building stronger and improving. This isn't about finding fault. It's about understanding what's actually happening so you can strengthen what matters within your business. And if this raised questions, hopefully it did, we're here to help get you some real answers. And if you're walking away from this thinking, I'm not totally sure about some of this, I have some questions, that's really the point. It was just to provoke some thought process and some questions you may have. Every business should step back periodically and evaluate the foundation that they're relying on, not because something is broken or something's not working today, but to make sure it stays that way. You really want to remove those issues and you want to have a good plan in place. So what we'd like to invite you to do is take our reality check and do a self-assessment to get an instant view of where you stand. We'll put a link in the chat for you. And certainly we're always available to talk. If you'd rather talk through it directly with us, you could put a line in the chat, or we're happy to have a follow-up, conversation. No pressure, no obligations, just to talk through what your concerns are. We'll send out a follow-up email to all attendees. Just reply to that. Certainly happy to schedule some time with you. And with that concludes the webinar for today. And again, if anybody has any questions, we're certainly happy to answer any of them. Go ahead and submit them in the Q&A panel. Otherwise, like I said, feel free to reach out to us and we'll answer any questions you may have directly. Thanks everyone for your time today. Okay, we do have one question here around AI tools. And the question is, you mentioned AI tools being used without oversight. From your experience, what's the first practical step a company should take to get visibility into that? So the first step is identifying what those tools are. So really a lot of that comes down to asking your staff what tools they may be using, not to not to reprimand them or to discourage use of AI, but to just fact find and understand what tools they may be using with or without your knowledge to help them in their jobs. And then once you do get an inventory of each of those tool sets, then you can understand where the risks may lie. And that's where working with your IT provider is critical, to have them help you do some risk evaluations on what those tools are, why you should or shouldn't be using them, and then either approving or denying their use within your organization. And then from there, you can establish, which every business should have, is an AI acceptable use policy. You should already have an IT acceptable use policy, so a technology acceptable use policy that defines and governs what's acceptable within your environment from an overall IT perspective. Separately, you should have an AI acceptable use policy. And again, that defines what the tools are, what's approved, what's not approved, and giving your staff the framework and guardrails and expectations of how they should or shouldn't be using AI within your business. In addition to that, you should also be giving them some use cases that you're endorsing for use within the business, so that they can see how you want them to be using AI. You don't want to discourage creativity or discourage them trying things out, but you have to give them a framework and some guardrails to do that. And that's where the adoption rate of use of AI within a business can get accelerated, because it's not just a owner or leadership driven exercise. If you're promoting use of AI within the business and allowing for creativity and help from your staff, that's going to help adoption rate across the board. But you are responsible as the owner or leaders of your organization to establish that framework, expectation, governance structure. Again, the guardrails, all of how you expect them to use those tools and keep your organization safe, keep your customers' data safe, keep your data safe. And that's an evolving process too. That's not something that is a one and done and you create the policy and distribute it and file it. This is something that should get updated regularly. The technology world evolves at a rapid scale in and of itself. Now with AI and automation being added on as another layer on top of that, the evolution and the change in what tools and systems are out there is evolving even quicker. So these policies, these governing documents need to get updated regularly and redistributed regularly out to your staff. All right, another question just came in for regarding at what point should a company realize they've outgrown their MSP, even if things seem to be working fine, or which could be some signs of this? Good question. And I'll just kind of reiterate some of the points that we made in the webinar here. A lot of times that is the case where, things seem to be fine. You're cruising along. No specific problems are happening. But if your MSP is not sharing critical pieces of reporting and data with you about what they are doing and what they are seeing behind the scenes, then there may be risks that you're not aware of and that you should have purview over and should have decision making over about how those risks are being managed and mitigated by your MSP. You should be having regular strategic level discussions with your MSP, at least on a quarterly basis, to sit down, talk about how things are going at a high level. This is not a time to sit down and talk through tickets and talk through, this tactical thing, this hardware issue. It's a time to sit down and have a strategic discussion. What's going on in your business? How has the last quarter been? What does the rest of the year look like? How is technology allowing you to achieve your goals? What concerns does the owner or leadership team have that they should be discussing with the managed service provider? And then vice versa. What sort of things does the managed service provider seeing and doing that is allowing the business to achieve their goals? Looking at roadmap regularly. So here's what's coming up in the next 3, 6, 12, 18, 24 months that we need to be planning for and preparing for. Again, really important topics around AI and automation of how your MSP can be your partner in getting these systems, tools, framework, governance, all of that established with, and I don't want to say for you because you play a critical role in that too, but I would say with you, that is a key part of your conversation regularly with your managed service provider. Risk mitigation is another key thing, preparing for incidents, preparing for disasters. How do we work through when that happens, not if that happens? How are we going to communicate? Who's responsible for what? What's documented? Where those documents live? Who has access to those documents in the event of an incident or a disaster? Those are all critical strategic level conversations that you should be having with your MSP. Not every meeting, but you certainly should be touching on them, on a at least annual basis. The AI and automation world is evolving so quickly that's probably going to be part and should be part of your regular strategic conversations with your MSP. So that's a lot of where we see the focus should be. Not that the tactical day-to-day problem solving, ticket resolution, monitoring, maintenance, all those things are really important. But that's only a percentage of what the MSP should be doing on your behalf and with you. All right, so that answers the few questions that we had. Again, certainly if anybody else has any further questions after the webinar, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to shoot back an email answering your question, happy to chat. We're here to help. So again, appreciate everybody for joining the webinar today, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon. Take care, everyone.